Lewis Hamilton's race at the Miami Grand Prix in 2025 was not just about losing positions or battling for points. It became a turning point in his journey with Ferrari. What happened during the race wasn't just a tactical disagreement or a moment of frustration. It exposed a deepening crack in the foundation of trust between Hamilton and his new team. The moment Ferrari told Lewis Hamilton to let Charles Leclerc through on the team radio, it wasn't just a request. For many, including Hamilton himself, it was a sign that something was very wrong within the team dynamics. Hamilton, a seven-time world champion, didn't join Ferrari just to be part of the grid. He joined them to fight for wins, to chase history, and to be the driver who brought the legendary team back to its former glory. But in Miami, instead of feeling like a central figure in that mission, he was treated more like a backup plan. The call to let Leclerc through was made with the explanation that there was no performance gap between the two cars and that they were on similar strategies. Yet Hamilton was told to step aside. For a driver of his caliber, that order didn't just sting, it cut deep. When the call came through, Hamilton initially said nothing. That silence spoke louder than words. It wasn't a silence of agreement or calm acceptance. It was the kind of silence that hides growing disappointment and disillusionment. Eventually, when he did respond, his voice was cold, edged, and full of disbelief. His words, tone, and timing all indicated that this was not a simple racing incident. It was a moment of broken trust. The Ferrari pit wall may have believed this was a necessary strategy move, but to Hamilton it felt like betrayal. He had fought hard in that race. He had gotten a better start than Leclerc, held his position, and managed his tires with precision. He stretched his stint, hoping the harder compound would give him the edge. And when the pit stop cycled through, it worked. Hamilton was ahead. But then, with Leclerc on fresher tires closing in, Ferrari made the call. And everything changed. Hamilton's question on the radio, "Are you sure?" wasn't just about whether the team had made the right call. It was a challenge to their judgment, a demand for clarity, and a sign that he was beginning to question the very foundation of their relationship. He wasn't just racing another car. He was racing against his own team's decisions. After the race, Hamilton didn't explode in front of the cameras. He didn't shout or point fingers, but his demeanor made everything clear. He was tight-lipped, his expression cold, and he walked through the paddock like someone who had just received a bitter truth. In the press interviews, he kept his words measured. But when asked about the decision to let Leclerc through, his response was chilling in its restraint. He didn't support the team's call, but he also didn't directly oppose it. That pause before answering, that neutral expression, it said more than a long explanation ever could. This wasn't the first time Ferrari's decisions had raised eyebrows this season. Throughout the opening races of 2025, Hamilton had already been growing frustrated. There were questionable tire calls, strange qualifying strategies, and a car setup that didn't seem to suit his driving style. Every weekend brought a new set of challenges, but in Miami it all came to a head. Ferrari had come into the Miami GP with high hopes. The track characteristics seemed to suit the SF25 on paper. It was seen as a place where Ferrari could close the gap to McLaren and Mercedes, but from the very beginning of the weekend, things started going wrong. The car was unstable through corners, struggling with tire degradation, and losing speed on the straights. Yet despite all that, Hamilton managed a strong start. He made a clean move early in the race, kept his position and looked set to capitalize on Ferrari's strategy. Leclerc pitted first, aiming for an undercut. Hamilton stayed out, hoping to make the tires last longer and get track position after the stops. It worked. Hamilton rejoined ahead. But that advantage didn't last long. Leclerc, with fresher tires, started gaining ground. And that's when Ferrari intervened. They didn't let the battle play out naturally. Instead, they ordered Hamilton to move aside. The problem wasn't just the order itself, it was the way it was delivered. The lack of justification, the poor timing, and the implication that Hamilton was expected to fall in line regardless of his performance. For a driver who had built his career on fighting for every inch of track, it felt like a step backward. The moment Ferrari made that call, they didn't just affect the race result, They shifted the tone of Hamilton's entire relationship with the team. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. And in Formula One, where every decision is scrutinized and every word analyzed, even a single radio message can spark a crisis. By the time the race ended, Hamilton found himself behind Leclerc again. Not because he lacked the pace, but because he had been told to hold position. And the team's decision didn't even bring results. Leclerc finished 7th, Hamilton 8th. No podiums, no major points gain, and a storm of controversy in the media. Leclerc, for his part, didn't look entirely comfortable either. He acknowledged that he had better pace in the final laps, but his expression and words suggested he knew the situation wasn't as simple as it seemed. He brushed off questions, saying they would discuss things internally. But the damage had already been done, publicly, and in the minds of fans and pundits. For Hamilton, this race marked a turning point. His frustration wasn't just about Miami. It had been building. The list of missteps was growing: strategy blunders, setup confusion, team communication issues. The Miami order to let Leclerc pass was just the latest in a string of decisions that made Hamilton feel sidelined. The bigger issue now isn't just whether Hamilton and Ferrari can win races together. It's whether they can even work together effectively. Once a driver begins to doubt the team's priorities, it becomes incredibly hard to focus purely on performance. That doubt creeps into every debrief, every race strategy, and every team meeting. Hamilton is not just any driver. He brings not only talent but also a massive global following, experience and expectations. Ferrari knew what they were signing up for when they brought him on board. But by treating him like a support act rather than a leading man, they risk undermining the very strengths they wanted to capitalize on. Leclerc, too, is now in a delicate position. If Ferrari continues to back him over Hamilton without clear performance-based reasons, it risks creating long-term tension. And if the team fails to show Hamilton the same level of support when it's his turn to lead, that tension will only grow. The worst part of all this is that it may already be too late to reverse the damage. In the high-pressure environment of Formula One, relationships can sour quickly. And once a driver like Hamilton starts questioning the team, it's often a sign that deeper problems are at play. If Ferrari wants to salvage this partnership, they need to act fast. They need clear communication, mutual respect, and a strategy that treats both drivers fairly. Otherwise, the 2025 season could become more about internal politics than on-track results. Miami was supposed to be a chance for Ferrari to bounce back. Instead, it became a symbol of everything that's going wrong. The car wasn't fast enough, the strategy wasn't sharp enough, and the team harmony was clearly broken. And now, with the whole world watching, Ferrari must decide what kind of team they want to be. Hamilton hasn't made any dramatic declarations, but his words, his expressions, and his actions speak volumes. This isn't what he signed up for. He came to Ferrari to lead a charge, not to be ordered aside when he's ahead. If things don't change soon, it won't just be this season that suffers. It could be the entire Ferrari-Hamilton project that falls apart. In Formula One,